It's been a bit like having a car crash and losing my legs, because it's been life-changing. My body just feels like it's given up on me.
I feel like I've had 2 years of my life wiped out.
If the intervention works, then in principle in the UK there's a treatment for 2 to 3 million people that could return the quality of their life. And that's 400 million people globally.
Five years have passed, and it feels like we've all moved on. But this is their chance to tell their stories.
Having long COVID has changed my life entirely. My life was at 100 miles an hour. I never sat down. And now I feel like I never get up. I can't do anything, I can't walk. It's been a bit like having a car crash. I'm just a shell of myself now. I used to be a working mum, and yeah, always busy, loved cooking, loved walking the dog, and really active. That was me before COVID. My worst symptoms are the fatigue, because that really does knock me for six, and I've struggled to barely get out of bed. I suffer with IBS. I also have fibromyalgia as a knock-on effect from this. Joint pain, the muscle pain, and I have daily headaches. There are literally hundreds of symptoms that I could reel off if I had a time to actually think about them all.
I've travelled for 4 hours to come and meet Nadia. She has been fighting long COVID for years to try and get on the road to recovery. Originally from London, Nadia is the owner of a group of children's nurseries and a proud mum of 3.
They are now 12, 14 and 16, nearly 17, coming to that difficult age. I worked in nurseries in London and then met my partner, and we decided to come and live in the countryside where her parents are. And we just wanted a better life for our children. And I contracted COVID end of 2020, coming up to 2021. So we decided that my children would go and live with my family. Unfortunately, my symptoms got worse and I ended up kind of bedridden, really. A lot of it I can't remember. I just remember being in the room. It just seemed like for weeks. And the only snippets of joy that I had was when I was able to go to the window, being helped to walk to the window to see my children. I just remember I couldn't even wave. I couldn't lift my arms. I was being held. My partner said to me that she thought that I turned a corner when I saw my children for the last time, that it made me so determined to pull through.
Sarah and Nadia's bodies remained in lockdown, with the memories that most of us chose to forget from 5 years ago. They are just 2 of the 2 million people living with long COVID in the UK. But I'm on my way to Exeter, where the condition is becoming less of a mystery.
Up until now, I don't think there's a proper diagnostic test for long COVID. And arguably, it is a collection of 250 symptoms. So a diagnostic test is quite hard to do. But we've got a diagnostic classification. And we've been looking at the amount of antibodies you make to each of the variants. Now, 14 variants. It all started with Wuhan 5 years ago and the current circulating variant. Did you make good quality antibodies to all of those? And were they in high enough concentration? And we're arguing that if you made good quantity, good quality antibodies, you got rid of it, you got better, and you don't have long COVID. If the virus is persisting, then we're arguing that's because you didn't make good quality antibodies. The long COVID idea came out of a PhD studentship, some work one of my PhD students has done, which here in Atamarca we've now commercialized so that you can buy the test. It's passed the UKCA mark. It's a validated test, which means it's ready to make a contribution to the long COVID problem. So what we do is we get a doctor, a clinician, to request the test. If they think it's the right thing to do, then they'll request the test. We can send a mail-away finger prick test to the patient. They need to prick their finger and send us back a drop of blood. We analyse the sample, and in 2 weeks we have the result. That goes to your doctor. The doctor then have a teleconsultation and explain your treatment options to you. There's a lot of pressure at the moment on the medical system because there are nearly 3 million people that are unwell and they're off work. If the intervention works, then in principle in the UK there's a treatment for 2 to 3 million people that could return the quality of their life, potentially sufficiently to go back to work. And that's 400 million people globally.
One of the things about here is that we're not overlooked at the back and the garden is nice and secluded, gets a lot of wildlife. But unfortunately, I have to now pay a gardener to come in and take care of even the basics of cutting a lawn. I've got an electric lawnmower, but I can't do it. It just wipes me out, and people will find that hard to believe, but a couple of runs up this lawn and I start to feel really bad. At the very start of the pandemic, in April, 3 doctors and 4 nurses established that I'd had COVID and I was probably in recovery, but there wasn't anything they could do. But it was from that day on that I decided I needed to find out what was happening to me.
Grant started a long COVID support group in Norfolk to help try and understand what himself and others are going through. And Sarah is a member.
Hi, Grant.
Hi Sarah, how are you feeling today? Everything good with you? In January 2021, I started with the post-COVID service, and it was through them that I met a physiotherapist who was extremely helpful and supportive and guided me through the early stages of their protocols. And whilst doing that, she realised that maybe I might be the candidate that she had been looking for. Her personal mission was that she wanted to start a peer group for people with long COVID. And so we agreed to start a group. We eventually kicked off with just 22 people. And as of this morning, we have 451 people in the group. But there are people who don't now believe that long COVID was everything. There's always been those people. And they don't understand how you can still be ill this long after COVID. So people come into the group for support.
With help from her local support groups, Nadia started to see the light of recovery.
It took probably a good 3 months before I could walk properly. I remember the first steps with a blanket around me going outside, but I could only go as far as my drive. But each day I would take a few more steps and eventually go to the park. So this is my little piece of paradise. My family from the Caribbean, so in the summer this water is blue. Before I got ill, this is where we used to come and spend a lot of our time. We'd have picnics here and the kids would paddle, and it would just be so much fun. We haven't really been back since as a family, but I think it'd be really nice to make more memories being here.
Nadia is able to go about her life almost as she once was. But even on a beautiful day like this, getting outside in the garden is still a challenge for Sarah.
At the end of 22, got the hang of my pacing and I was able to work part-time. And I decided to move to Scotland for a little while. And it was lovely because I was able to work a little bit and walk a little bit and generally have a whole new life. Life had improved. And then having caught COVID again in September 23, I then had a huge crash in early 24, and unfortunately I'm back to square one. I hang on to the fact that it improved a little bit last time, so I'm hoping it will this time. Got to keep the hope. If I stopped hoping, what was the point, you know? So you got to be positive.
But even though Nadia's body is making a recovery, she's now navigating how to deal with what was lost.
I feel, like I've missed so much time. Now that I feel like I'm 3/4 on the other side and I feel better and I feel well, I've just been like a complete juggernaut steam train because I feel like I'm trying to catch up with all the times that I've missed. But I'm having to be careful because I think that 2 or 3 times I've overdone it and I've got the symptoms of long COVID again. So that's stomach cramps, the ME symptoms of pure tiredness, sometimes being physically sick. So I've had to rein it back and just take my time and listen to my body. So the remnants, I've worked on myself, I've taken steps as I've got better, but I've not dealt with certain things, and I think that's emotional things. I think, working with the children, the babies, and being around new life, that really helped me. Because there's been so much negativity and grief, and I'm a positive person, so I try and turn everything and flip things round to be positive. And so 5 years' time, who knows? I think I'm just living for the moment because I don't think I can plan too much in the future because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's around the corner. And you just got to take life as it is now and live it to the fullest. Sorry.